With its centuries-old landscape, steep hillsides and bustling cobblestone streets, Switzerland's capital city doesn't seem like it would have anything in common with a city nearly 5,000 miles away in eastern North Carolina. But the ties between these towns run deep. It all begins with their names.
The spirit of togetherness is definitely there. I mean, Bern, Switzerland, and New Bern, North Carolina, you can't beat that, even though the architecture might be quite different.
It's a connection that goes back 300 years. That's when Baron Christopher de Graffenried left Switzerland and eventually landed on the banks where the Neuse and Trent rivers converge. He named the spot New Bern in honor of his hometown.
By the end of September of 1710, there was a colony here. It was a colony that had to be engaged in survival because they had to establish themselves.
It was a struggle in the early years, but the colony did establish itself, and today New Bern is North Carolina's second oldest city. To honor the town's tri-centennial, a group of New Bernians is traveling to the place where their town's history began.
The connection is really much deeper, in my opinion, and a lot more emotional than you would ever guess.
Emotional enough that Mayor Tom Bayliss, in one of his last acts before leaving office, is getting on an airplane for the first time in almost 30 years to see New Bern's mother city for himself.
I had promised him years ago that I would come, and each time when it got close, I would begin to sweat, and I owed it to him, and I owe it to the city, and you know, so I'm doing it. Believe me, it's a big sacrifice.
There's a big difference in climate and scenery to greet the group members once they arrive in Switzerland. The Swiss have rolled out a dusting of snow as a region-wide welcome mat, along with more traditional greetings.
Welcome to the original, welcome to Old Bern.
A city that traces its origins to 1191.
Sort of leaves you speechless because it was the beauty of it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful city.
With a classic European look and feel that come across right away.
It is a very, very old city. One that makes New Bern look like it was built only yesterday.
In its early days, Bern didn't have a name at all. Soon after, the city's founder, Duke Berchtold of Zeringen,
decided to go on hunt. And he said the first animal we are going to kill shall give the name to the city. And that was obviously a bear.
Or Bern in German, the city's official language. More than 800 years after the original bear gave Bern its name, the animal still gives the city an identity. Bears are on the prowl all over the place, printed on license plates, waving on flags, even standing on pedestals.
The bears are everywhere, and we look back and think, that's just like New Bern. There really is a connection. There really is something that started from something and not just out of someone's imagination.
Back in the late 1800s, New Bern adopted the coat of arms and symbol of its mother city, and the bears have been fixtures all across town ever since. Seeing them on the other side of the Atlantic in their original location is special.
It's kind of exciting because I've lived in New Bern for 30 years of my life, and going to Bern, Switzerland, and they've got it on their doorbells, they've got it on their front doors. You just see it everywhere. And
you also see the face of one of the world's most famous physicists peeking out on Bern's Kramgrasse. Albert Einstein lived in Bern from 1902 to 1909.
So we can be proud on him, right? He was not famous at the time when he lived here in Bern, but he was secretary of the patent office, third degree. That was not really a big deal.
But it did give him enough free time to discover some of the principles that would change the scientific world forever.
In this apartment, he developed about 50% of his published researches, theories.
Another of Bern's most important buildings is the Federal Palace, which houses the Swiss Parliament.
It is the nation's capital, which very often outside of Switzerland people do not know. They would think that Geneva or Zurich is the capital.
Many of Bern's 130,000 people get around using its modern transportation system of electric streetcars and buses. But they also do plenty of walking from place to place. The city features 3 miles of arcades, giving shoppers and commuters alike a covered place to cover some ground when the weather's not so good. Like New Bern, the city of Bern is positioned on a peninsula. But instead of the Neuse and the Trent rivers, Bern has the River Arda. It's an immensely popular attraction, especially in the summer months when thousands of people come out here, walk a mile upstream, then float back downstream. It's such a popular tradition. In fact, there are special staircases to help you get out when you're done swimming. Even in the midst of winter, Bern still has plenty to offer these visitors from North Carolina, especially to their taste buds. Fine chocolate fills city storefronts. Between Toblerone chocolate and Pepsi Cola, both Bern and New Bern are birthplaces of world-famous sweet treats. As you would expect in a Swiss city, timepieces of all sizes are on display everywhere, but the clock tower in the center of Bern is one of the city's icons.
This is a purely mechanical clockwork, a hand-winded clockwork. So there is no electricity in it and electronics.
It's all done with a system of weights and cogs that need to be cranked once a day. The tower dates back to the 1200s and still draws crowds at the top of the hour. That's when a group of mechanical creatures mark the changing of time in grand fashion.
It starts every full hour, 3 minutes before the full hour, with the song or the crow of the rooster.
Then the gesture strikes little bells.
And at the same time, the bears down below, they turn around like a merry-go-round.
Soon after, Cronus, the Greek god of time, turns over his hourglass and moves his wand.
So when this is over, then the rooster, he crows for a third time. And then finished for an hour.
It's fun to watch just all on its own, but knowing that this has been handed down by generation after generation after generation requires very little repair, and it's still working beautifully every hour of the day.
And it's another point of connection between Bern and New Bern, which also has a prominent clock at its center. It's one of many conversation points as the people of Bern welcome the group from North Carolina. This is an official visit to Bern, but all the members of the delegation are paying their own travel expenses.
I thought about what's the difference between Bern and New Bern. We are older than you, founded in 1191, you're in 1710.
Celebrating that tri-centennial is a big reason behind this visit, and making sure the people of Bern know they're welcome to share in it too. His air travel jitters now calmed, Tom Bayless is issuing an official invitation.
We are very proud, I want to tell you that, of being the daughter city of Bern, Switzerland. I'd like to invite all of you over next year to walk down the street, and when you see a guy dressed in, let's say, North Carolina clothes, but he happens to look like the Baron, go over and shake his hand. He could be kin.